Michael had the most successful hair salon in the entire neighborhood. Prime Crown Cuts. That was the name painted in bold gold letters above the shop. They called him the celebrity barber. His hands were like the hands of a god. When he held those clippers, magic happened. Politicians came to his shop, big men, celebrities, even pastors. Everything was going well for Michael. His business was booming. His wife Laura was gorgeous and beautiful. And he had 2 sons who were healthy and strong. And Michael was living a lovely and peaceful life. Until one day, someone walked into his shop. And that someone changed his entire life forever. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let me take you back to how everything started. Many years ago, in the bustling city of Abuja, there lived a handsome man named Michael. Michael was not born with a silver spoon. In fact, his spoon was not even stainless steel. It was more like a plastic, the type that burns when the food is too hot. He didn't get the chance to go to higher institution. After he finished secondary school, there was no money for him to further his education. His parents tried everything they could to raise the money to sponsor him. But day after day, they searched for help, knocking on doors and holding on to hope. But no matter how hard they tried, it was never enough. In the end, their efforts fell short, and the dream they so desperately wanted for him began to slip away.
Michael made a decision. Instead of sitting at home like a statue, waiting for a miracle, he chose to learn a skill. And that skill was barbering. He dedicated himself to it like a man who had no other option. He learned with his heart. He learned with his soul. He learned with his hands. Every cut, every fade, every lineup, he practiced relentlessly until his fingers moved as if they had a mind of their own. And soon, Michael became good and perfect in barbing and gathered some little money from his boss shop, and he finally opened his barbing salon. And customers were coming from different angles to patronize him due to he was perfect in barbing. His customers were more loyal to him than some married men are to their wives. Some men might forget their wedding anniversary, but they would never miss their appointment with Michael. There was one customer in particular, Mr. Andrew. When Michael traveled one certain time, Mr. Andrew chose to wait, not for a week, not for a month, but for 3 whole months. 3 months. His hair had grown bushy like an untamed forest. His wife begged him to visit another barbing salon just for him to look decent again. But Mr. Andrew refused.
"I will wait for Michael," he said firmly. "Nobody else touches my hair." That was the kind of loyalty Michael commanded. His shop reflected the same excellence. It was always neat, spotless even. The air carried the clean scent of aftershave and fresh powder. The mirrors shone so brightly, you could almost see your future in them. After every customer left, the floor was swept without delay. Even the waiting chairs looked arranged like they were ready for a magazine cover. And Michael himself, he was so calm, quiet, and cheerful with anyone. He was polite and always smiling, always composed. No matter how disrespectful and rude a customer was, Michael would never interfere back. He never lost his gentleness. He would simply smile, like a man who had swallowed peace and joy for breakfast. You could insult him, call him a fool even, complain that he cut your hair like a blind goat, and Michael would still smile calmly and say, "I'm sorry, sir. Let me fix it for you." People often said sitting in Michael's chair felt like therapy. The moment you sat down, your worries began to fade. Your troubles paused. Even if your bank account was crying, for those 30 minutes in Michael's chair, you felt like a king. And because of that, his salon didn't just boom, it thrived with customers. Soon, Michael had saved enough money to take a bold step forward. He moved out of his local area and relocated to the big boy side of Abuja, the GRA, the government-reserved area, where the wealthy lived. It was the kind of place where even the dogs wore collars more expensive than some people's rent. There, he rented a large shop and transformed it completely. He expanded it, redesigned it, and gave it a touch of pure classic look. He brought in modern equipment, the kind barbers in America used: black leather chairs, air conditioning, large flat-screen TVs mounted on the walls playing smooth R&B music videos and live football matches. And just like that was how Prime Crown Cut Salon was established. Before long, it became the biggest and most talked about salon in the entire GRA neighborhood. People from every walk of life found their way to Michael's salon. Politicians, businessmen, doctors, lawyers, and even the so-called Yahoo boys, the flashy internet fraudsters in designer clothes and bleached skin. They all came for one reason: they wanted to look sharp. In the midst of his success, Michael got married to a beautiful woman named Laura. She was kind, intelligent, and had a smile that could make even a sad man laugh. Together, they were blessed with 2 sons, strong, healthy boys who looked just like their father. Life was good, peaceful. Michael and Laura kept to themselves, focused on their family, and took care of their home. They paid their bills, they went to church, they were not bothering anybody. Everything was peaceful, until one day, Laura's phone rang. It was her mother, Mama Laura, and from the sound of her voice, something was wrong. "Laura, my daughter," Mama Laura said, her voice heavy with worry. "Please, I need your help." Laura sat up straight. Her husband, Michael, was sitting beside her on the sofa. He could hear the seriousness in her mother's tone. "Mama, what happened?" Laura asked. "My brother in the village just died," Mama Laura said. Laura gasped. "What? Which brother?"
Now, let me pause here and explain something. When Mama Laura said "my brother," she didn't mean her biological brother. No, not at all. In the village, everyone is your brother or sister. The relationships are so complicated you would need a GPS and a family tree as long as Third Mainland Bridge to figure them out. The man who died was something like Mama Laura's uncles, cousins, stepbrothers, nieces, father's friend. A very distant relative. If you understand that, then you've definitely been to a Nigerian village before. Truth is, the connection between Mama Laura and the man was longer than Third Mainland Bridge itself. If you try to trace it properly, you would get tired halfway and give up. But they were from the same village, the same clan, so naturally they called each other brother and sister, even though the blood connection was thinner than the thread holding a button on an old shirt. Mama Laura continued, "The family is suffering. The man died and left his children behind. They've started sharing the children among relatives. No one can afford to take care of all of them." Laura sighed deeply. It was a painful reality she knew too well. In the village, when a man died without money, his children were often scattered, like seeds carried away by the wind, each one sent to a different home. Mama Laura continued, "There's one of the daughters. Her name is Serena. She's a good girl, very respectful. She just finished secondary school. She's 19 now." Even before she finished speaking, Laura already knew where this was heading. "Please, my daughter," Mama Laura pleaded, "let her come and stay with you in the city. She can help at your husband's salon, just sweeping and cleaning. You can pay her a small salary. At least she'll have a roof over her head. It's better than staying in the village where anything could happen to her. You know how it is. Before you know it, she might get pregnant and her life could be ruined." Laura fell silent. She wasn't comfortable with the idea, not at all. Her home was peaceful, quiet, and well-ordered. She didn't want anything to disturb that balance. Because truth be told, sometimes when you bring people into your home, they don't just come alone. They come with their problems, their burdens, and their troubles.
Michael, who had been listening quietly, noticed the hesitation on his wife's face. Gently, he took the phone from her. "Mama, it's me, Michael," he said calmly. "Don't worry. If the girl is well behaved, she can come. We need extra hands at the salon anyway. She can help with cleaning and keeping things in order. And this is also our own way of helping people." Laura looked at her husband with wide eyes. She wanted to protest, but Michael's face was calm and kind. he always had a soft heart for people in need. Mama Laura was overjoyed. "Thank you, my son. God will bless you. I will send her next week." And just like that, the decision was made. Serena was coming to Abuja. If only Michael and Laura had known that this quiet, innocent-looking village girl would one day become the serpent in their garden. If only they had seen beyond her shy smile and polite greetings, beyond the humility she wore like clothing, to the greed quietly growing inside her heart. But they didn't know. And so 1 week later, Serena arrived. She came with just a small local bag. Her clothes were simple, the kind village girls wore: faded wrappers, worn-out slippers, and hair that hadn't seen a relaxer in years. When Laura saw her, her heart softened with pity. "Welcome, Serena," Laura said warmly. "This is your new home." Serena smiled shyly. "Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Uncle." Michael showed her to a room. It wasn't big, but it was clean and comfortable. Laura gave her some of her old clothes, things she no longer wore. Michael even took her shopping to buy a few essentials. Serena's eyes widened with wonder. She had never experienced such kindness before. The next day, Michael took her to Prime Crown Cuts. The salon was alive with activity. Customers waiting their turn, the steady buzz of clippers in the air, soft music playing in the background. The entire place carried the scent of success. "Everyone," Michael announced, "this is Serena, my wife's sister. She'll be working with us now, helping to keep the place clean and organized." The other workers, 2 young barbers, welcomed her warmly. "Welcome, Sister Serena," they said. She greeted them politely, her voice soft, her posture humble. And for the first few weeks, everything went smoothly. Serena worked hard. She swept the floors after every customer. She cleaned the mirrors until they sparkled. She kept the waiting area neat and presentable. She greeted customers with a gentle smile that made them feel at ease.
At home, she woke up early to help with chores, washing dishes, sweeping the compound, and assisting wherever she could. She was respectful to both Laura and Michael. Gradually, Laura began to relax. "You see," she said one evening, "she's a good girl after all. I was worried for nothing." Michael smiled. "I told you, we made the right decision. We're helping her, and she's helping us too." If only they knew. If only they knew that deep within Serena's heart, something dark was beginning to grow. Something quiet, something greedy, something dangerous. Because soon, very soon, a man would walk into Prime Crown Cuts. A man with money, a man with power, and a man with intentions that were far from good. And his name was Chief Okafo. Chief Okafo was not a man you would call handsome. He was heavily built, the kind that comes from too many plates of fried food and too many bottles of beer at political gatherings. His stomach entered a room before the rest of him, as if announcing his arrival. And his eyes, small, sharp, and restless, always looked like they were calculating something not entirely right. His skin was dark and glossy, the kind of shine that came from expensive creams that made him look younger than his true age. Chief Okafo was a politician, and not just any politician. He was contesting for a powerful government position, the kind that came with convoys, police escorts, and the authority to make people's problems disappear or appear, depending on his mood. He had been coming to Prime Crown Courts for over a year. Every week, like clockwork, he would waddle into the salon with his bodyguard close behind him. And every week, he complained. "Michael, this side is not properly shaved," he would say, tilting his head and squinting at the mirror. Or, "The lineup is not sharp enough, do it again." Sometimes, "Michael, you use too much powder. I don't want to look like a ghost." But no matter how much he complained, Michael would simply smile, that calm, patient smile, and quietly fix whatever he pointed out, without a single argument. Other customers often shook their heads in amazement. How could Michael remain so patient with such a difficult man? But that was Michael's gift. Patience. What Michael didn't know was this. Chief Okafo was not coming to Prime Crown Court just for a haircut. No. He came with intentions. Dark, calculated intentions. The kind no one could have imagined. And soon, very soon, those intentions would begin to unfold. It happened on a Friday evening. The salon had been busy all day. Customers came and went. The air was filled with the steady buzz of clippers and the sound of laughter. By 6 p.m., the two young barbers had closed for the day and gone home. Michael needed to quickly visit the market before shutting down. "Serena," he called, "I'm stepping out to the market. Once you finish sweeping, lock up the shop." "Yes, uncle," Serena replied obediently.
Michael smiled and left. The saloon fell quiet. Serena swept the floor, humming softly to herself. She didn't hear the car that pulled up outside. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching. But when she looked up, there he was. Chief Okafo stood in the doorway, wearing that same strange, calculating smile. "Good evening, sir," Serena greeted politely, pausing her sweeping. "Uncle Michael isn't around. He went to the market." "I know," Chief Okafo replied smoothly, stepping inside. "Hehehe, fine girl. What are you doing here, sweeping floors?" Serena lowered her gaze shyly. "Yes, sir. I work here. I clean the shop." He shook his head slowly, as if disappointed. What a waste. A beautiful, intelligent girl like you, sweeping floors like a housemaid. Shouldn't you be in school? The question hit her deeply. Her face fell. Her eyes dropped. I lost my father, sir. We don't have money for school anymore. I have younger siblings in the village. I'm the first daughter. I'm working here to save money, maybe learn a skill someday and help my family. Chief Okafor's eyes lit up, not with sympathy, but with opportunity. Like a hunter who had just spotted wounded prey. He stepped closer, his hands clasped behind his back, like a man inspecting something valuable. "My dear," he said softly, almost kindly, "you shouldn't be suffering like this. You are young, beautiful, hardworking. You deserve much more than this life." Serena looked up, confused. "Sir?" He smiled warmly. "Do you know what I do?" She shook her head. "I'm a politician," he said proudly. "And do you know what politicians do? We help people. We lift others up. We create opportunities for those who deserve them." He reached into his pocket and brought out a thick bundle of cash. Serena's eyes widened. He counted out 50,000 naira right there in front of her. The notes were crisp and fresh, like they had just left the bank. He placed the money into her trembling hands. "Sir, I can't," she stammered, staring at it like it wasn't real. Yes, you can, he said gently but firmly. Take it. Buy what you need. Clothes, food. Send some to your family. And don't worry, there's more where that came from. Serena's mouth moved, but no words came out. 50,000 naira. Just like that. But why? Why are you helping me? He smiled again. That same warm, fatherly smile. Because I see potential in you. I see a young girl doing her best in a difficult situation. And it breaks my heart to see someone like you wasting away here. You deserve better. Tears filled Serena's eyes. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. No one had ever given her so much without asking for anything in return. Thank you, sir, she whispered, clutching the money tightly. Thank you so much. He gently patted her shoulder. Don't mention it. Just take care of yourself, okay? And with that, he turned and walked out of the saloon, leaving Serena standing there, her heart racing, 50,000 naira in her hand.
And that was the beginning. The first seed planted in fertile soil. From that day on, Chief Okafo became like a shadow in Serena's life. He would come to the salon, always when Michael had stepped out, always when the other workers had gone, always when Serena was alone. And each time he spoke to her in that same smooth voice. You're such a beautiful girl, he would say with a smile. You don't belong here. You're too smart for this kind of work. I'm a politician, he would say smoothly. I help people. That's what I do. And I want to help you. You deserve to be in school or running your own business, not sweeping floors for someone else. And each time he came, he gave her money. Sometimes 20,000 naira. Sometimes 30. Sometimes 50. Little by little, Serena's head began to swell, like dough rising in the sun. She had never seen so much money in her life. And here was this rich, powerful man giving it to her freely. One day, Chief Okafo brought her a brand new Android phone, not a cheap one, a sleek, expensive smartphone, the kind influencers used for flawless selfies. This is for you, he said, handing it to her with a smile. Serena's hands trembled as she received it. Sir, this is too much. Don't worry, he replied gently. You deserve it. And just like that, their communication began. At first, it was simple text messages. Good morning, my dear. How are you today? Did you eat well? Don't work too hard. You need to rest. Then it grew into late-night phone calls, long conversations that stretched for hours while Michael and Laura slept. He told her about his life, his ambitions, his dreams. She told him about her struggles, her family, her fears. And he listened, like someone who truly cared. He made her feel seen, important, special. Another week passed, and he brought her designer clothes, expensive ones, still carrying price tags that made her head spin. Hide them, he whispered with a knowing smile. Don't let your aunt and uncle see them. They won't understand. Serena nodded eagerly. She hid the clothes carefully, under her bed, deep in her wardrobe, tucked away in her bags, anywhere Laura and Michael wouldn't find them. But slowly, they began to notice changes. Serena, Laura asked one day, eyeing the phone in her hand, where did you get that? Serena smiled innocently. Auntie, customers have been giving me small tips. I saved up and bought it. Michael frowned slightly. You should be saving that money for something important, not buying phones. Yes, uncle, she replied softly, lowering her head like a scolded child.
But inside, she was smiling because she knew something they didn't know. She already had over 1 million naira in her account. Money Chief Okafo had been giving her, little by little, week after week.
She had even started sending money home. "Mama, I'm doing well," she would say over the phone, her voice bright with pride. "The city is good. Uncle and auntie are taking care of me. I'm making money." Her mother rejoiced. "My daughter, God has blessed you. Keep working hard." If only she knew the truth. 3 months passed. 3 months of secret calls, secret meetings, secret gifts. To Serena, it felt like a dream. But one day, sitting in Chief Okafo's car, parked far away from prime crown courts, where no one could see them, something stirred in her mind. "Sir," she said quietly, staring at her hands, "you've been so kind to me. You've given me so much. But what do you want from me?" Chief Okafo turned to her, his expression suddenly serious. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he reached out and gently took her hand. "I like you," he said softly. Serena froze. What?" "I like you," he repeated, his eyes fixed on hers. "I want to take care of you." Her throat went dry. "Sir, I don't understand." He smiled gently. "I want to marry you." Serena's eyes widened in shock. "Marry me?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I know I'm already married, but I'm a polygamous man. In our culture, a man can have more than one wife, and I want you to be my second wife." He squeezed her hand. "Listen to me, Serena. There's an election coming, a big one, and when I win, I'll have power, wealth, everything, and I want you by my side." Her head spun. "Once I win," he continued smoothly, "I'll settle you properly. I'll buy you a house. I'll bring your family from the village to the city. You will never suffer again." Serena should have said no. She should have walked away. But instead, her heart raced with excitement. A house, a new life, no more suffering. She was only 19, young, naive, and inexperienced. She believed life was simple. She didn't understand that promises could be empty and people could hide their true intentions behind kind words. I don't know what to say," she whispered. Chief Okafo smiled. "Say yes." And Serena, foolish, hopeful, blinded by dreams, smiled back. "Yes," she whispered. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead. "That's my good girl." And just like that, it began. They started seeing each other in secret. He would pick her up after work, far from the salon, far from watchful eyes. They visited quiet places, restaurants in distant parts of the city, hotels where no one knew them.
He showered her with gifts, staring at the ceiling, dreaming of the future, the mansion she would live in, the cars she would drive, the respect she would command as the wife of a powerful man. She sent even more money home. "Mama, everything is going well," she would say proudly. "My daughter, you are blessed," her mother would reply, tears of joy in her voice. If only they knew. 4 months passed, 4 months of secrets, promises, and illusions. Then one day, sitting in his car again, Chief Okafo turned to her, his face serious. "Serena, I need you to do something for me." Her heart skipped. "What is it, sir?" "I need your help," he said slowly. "Something important." "Anything," she replied eagerly. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I need hair." Serena blinked. "Hair?" "Yes," he said, locking eyes with her. "The hair your uncle cuts in the salon. When you sweep it, I want you to gather it and give it to me." A chill ran through her body. "Sir, why?" she asked in a trembling voice. His expression darkened slightly. "Do I look like a ritualist to you?" "No, sir," she replied quickly. He softened again. "I'm not doing anything bad, Serena. You know me.
Have I ever hurt you? She shook her head slowly. It's just for good luck, he continued calmly. For my election. Good luck, she repeated, unsure. He leaned closer, his voice low and persuasive. Some people have blessings, luck, favor, success, but they don't even know how to use it. All I'm doing is sharing in that good fortune, just a little, not enough to harm anyone. He smiled reassuringly. If someone has 100 chances of success and I take 5, they won't even notice. It's like taking 1 grain of rice from a full bag. Serena hesitated. It sounded harmless, logical even. It won't hurt anyone, she asked softly. Not at all, he said firmly. Then he pulled out his phone and showed her something. A house. No, not just a house, a mansion. White walls, wide gates, a swimming pool, palm trees lining the driveway. This, he said, is what I'm going to buy for you. Her breath caught. I've already contacted the agent. He showed her messages, negotiations, proof. The house costs 150 million naira, but once I win, it will be yours. Tears filled her eyes. I will bring your family here, he continued gently. I'll pay your bride price. Your suffering will end. She wanted to believe him. She wanted that life. And in that moment, she didn't think about Michael. She didn't think about Laura. She didn't think about the customers. She only thought about herself. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it.
Chief Okafo smiled and kissed her forehead. That's my good girl. And just like that, the deal was sealed. From that day forward, Serena became a thief in Michael's house. A traitor in the very home that had welcomed her with open arms. Every evening, after the customers left and Michael locked up the salon, Serena would sweep the floor as usual. But instead of throwing the hair into the dustbin outside, she would carefully gather it into a black nylon bag. Then she would hide it behind a shelf, under the counter, anywhere Michael wouldn't notice. Later that night, far away from the salon and far from prying eyes, she would meet Chief Okafo. She would hand over the bag, and in return, he would give her money. Sometimes 100,000 naira. Sometimes 150,000 naira. Sometimes even 200,000 naira. It became a routine, week after week, month after month. The black nylon bag, the secret handover, the envelope of cash. Michael didn't know. Laura didn't know. Nobody knew that the young village girl they had taken in, the girl they fed, clothed and cared for, had become a silent danger in their home. Like a python coiled around their necks, waiting for the right moment to strike. At night, Serena would lie on her bed, counting the money Chief Okafo had given her. She would stare at the picture of the mansion on her phone, imagining a new life. She never thought about the consequences. She never questioned what she was doing. All she cared about was the money, the promise, the dream. Greed had consumed her completely. And soon, very soon, the people of Abuja would begin to pay the price. Because when you play with darkness, when you tamper with things you don't understand, it never affects just one person. It spreads. And death was about to knock on many doors. For 3 months, everything seemed normal. Serena kept collecting the hair. Chief Okafo kept taking it. Money kept exchanging hands. The routine continued like a machine that never stopped. Michael's business was still thriving. Prime Crown Cuts remained the most popular salon in the area. Customers came and went, laughing, chatting, leaving with fresh haircuts that made them feel like new men. Life was good. Until the 4th month, when something changed. Something dark, something evil, something that would shake Michael to his core. It began with a little boy. His name was Lucas. He was just 7 years old, a bright, cheerful child with a smile that could melt even the hardest heart. His father, Mr. Theo, was one of Michael's most loyal customers. That evening, Mr. Theo brought Lucas to the salon. "Michael," he called out cheerfully, "my boy's hair is looking like a bush. Help me tidy him up." Michael laughed. "No problem. Come, Lucas, sit down for Uncle Michael." The boy climbed into the chair, his legs dangling in the air. Michael placed the cushion beneath him and gently covered him with a cape. As he walked, he joked with the child, making him laugh. That was Michael's way. He knew how to make people comfortable, even children. "Uncle Michael," Lucas giggled, "you are the best barber in the whole world." Michael smiled. "And you are a very good boy." When the haircut was done, Lucas looked in the mirror and beamed with pride. "Daddy, look, I am handsome." Everyone laughed. Mr. Theo paid and they left the salon, waving goodbye. Michael waved back, smiling. He didn't know that would be the last time he would ever see that boy alive. The next morning, Michael's phone rang. It was early, too early, the kind of call that makes your heart race before you even answer. "Hello? Michael." It was Mr. Theo's voice, but it sounded broken, hollow. "Mr. Theo, what's wrong?" There was silence. Then, "My son, Lucas, he's dead." Michael froze. "What?" "He died last night," Mr. Theo said, now crying. "He was fine when we left your shop, but when we got home, he started complaining of a headache." Michael's hands began to tremble. "We gave him medicine. We tried everything. Before we could get him to the hospital," his voice cracked. "He was gone." The doctors found nothing. No illness, no cause, no explanation. Michael sat there, speechless. His chest tightened. His mind spun. The same little boy who had laughed in his chair was gone. Days passed, but Michael couldn't shake the feeling. Then, just 3 days later, another customer, Victor, a lively young man, came in for a haircut. He joked, laughed, talked about a date he was looking forward to. 3 days after that, he was dead. Same story. Headache. No diagnosis. Death. Then came a third. Margaret, a cheerful young woman, a regular customer. She left the salon happy, glowing. 5 days later, she too was gone. Now it was no longer a coincidence. 3 people, 3 deaths, all after visiting his salon. Fear crept into Michael's heart like a cold shadow. Rumors spread quickly. Customers stopped coming. People whispered in the streets, "Something is wrong with that salon. Maybe he's using something." His once busy shop grew quiet. His business began to crumble. At home, Michael couldn't sleep. "Laura, I don't understand," he said one night, his voice breaking. "Why are people dying after coming to my shop?" They prayed, they fasted, they cried out for answers, not knowing that the answer was already living under their roof. Serena saw everything, the deaths, the fear, the pain in their eyes. And deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Maybe it's the hair." But she silenced it, because believing the truth meant losing everything: the money, the dream, the promise of a better life. So she continued. She kept collecting the hair, she kept meeting Chief Okafo, she kept taking the money. At night, she even knelt beside Michael and Laura, pretending to pray with them, the very person causing their suffering, praying for a solution. That was how far greed had taken her. That was how blind she had become. 2 weeks passed, no more deaths. Michael slowly began to relax. Maybe the worst was over. Until one Saturday, Michael decided to cut his own hair, and his son Henry too. They went to the salon together. Michael cut his son's hair with care, laughter filling the room. It was a simple, happy moment. But as they left, Serena quietly swept the floor. She gathered the hair. Not just any hair, Michael's hair and his son's. She packed it into the black nylon bag and later that night, handed it over. 3 days later, Michael woke up with a headache. By afternoon, it worsened. By evening, it became unbearable. Then from the next room, "Mommy,
"Mommy!" It was Henry. Laura rushed in and saw her son clutching his head, crying in pain. "My head! It hurts! Something is hitting my head!" Laura's heart stopped. No, not her husband. Not her son. Please, God, no. By that night, both Michael and Henry were in terrible agony. The pain in their heads was unbearable, like their skulls were being crushed from within, as if something dark was trying to break free. Laura gave them medicine, she prayed over them, she poured water on their heads, but nothing worked. The next morning, she rushed them to the hospital. The doctors ran several tests, and just like before, just like with little Lucas, Victor, and Margaret, they found nothing. "They are perfectly healthy," the doctor said, confused. "There is no medical reason for this pain." But Michael and Henry were far from healthy. By the second day, Henry could barely get out of bed. His body had grown weak and fragile. His eyes were swollen, his voice faint. All he could do was whimper softly, like a child slowly losing strength. Michael was no better. His face had gone pale. His eyes were red and watery. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. The pain was overwhelming. By the third day, Laura knew the truth. This was not ordinary. This was not medical. This was spiritual. Her hands trembling, she picked up her phone and dialed her pastor. "Pastor, please, you have to come. My husband and my son, they are dying. I think the enemy is at work."
Within an hour, the pastor arrived. His name was Pastor Matthew, a tall, serious man with a deep voice and eyes that seemed to see beyond the physical. The moment he stepped into the house, he felt it. A heavy presence, dark, oppressive. He saw Michael and Henry lying on the floor, clutching their heads in pain. His expression hardened. He knelt beside them and began to play quietly. Then suddenly, he stood up and turned to Laura. "This is not the work of outsiders," he said firmly. "This is not an attack from outside." Laura's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" The pastor looked at her with grave seriousness. "The enemy is within," he said. "The insect that eats the tree is inside the fruit." Laura's breath caught in her throat. What are you saying?" He glanced around the house slowly. "Who else lives here?" he asked. Laura hesitated. Just us and Serena, my cousin from the village." The pastor's eyes narrowed. "Call her," he said quietly.